Okay, welcome everyone to this really interesting event. We are going to hear today what is new in the world of digital business. Somehow everybody can say, I knew that, I did that, or I have experienced that. But in a way, it's good to have many technologies in the same event, just to understand that the digital business, it's not about the platforms, it's not about technologies. Actually, it's about the customers only. And to satisfy all the customers that you have, even though it's a B2B or B2C, it's really important to have technologies that really works together. Today with us are Tim from Liferay to tell you about the B2B world, how the B2B world is now changing all the time. And after that, there will be Mike from Boomi telling you how the data is essential thing, thinking about the e-commerce or digital business. And after that, Kenneth from Akeneo will tell you about why the product information is so important. And the last but not least, David will go through with you why the order management is needed in order to get the customer experience to be like it should be. And our role in this whole business is to make the magic happen. We are combining all these technologies to have a digital business for you. But let's go further our program. Please note that we will change our speakers like in a relay, so there will be no pauses. And then if you have something to ask in here, please ask the mic, and in there behind the screens, put it in the chat so we will give the question to the speaker. But we will start with the keynote speaker. We have here the honored professor from University of Jyväskylä, Heikki Karjaluoto, telling you about how the customer behavior has changed within the corona years. Isn't that so? Welcome, Heikki. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon for all of you who are here and our online audience. I will actually tell also some other things than mentioned in the opening speech. So my name is Heikki, and I was actually asked to talk about consumer behavior and how it is changing. But as I know, the audience, you probably are interested quite much on the business-to-business side. So I'm trying to combine our current knowledge, what we know about actually buying behavior. So originally, when we talk about consumer behavior in science, it related to buying. But nowadays, consumer behavior covers many other issues like consumption and things like how to avoid waste and all those kind of things. But I will here today focus on issues that actually relate to buying. I assume I have 7 minutes extra time, so thank you. So a bit about my background. So from my heart, I'm still a marketing guy. So I've been a marketing professor for around 15 years, and earlier also 5 years professor in electronic commerce. Now I made a big change in the last autumn and moved to IT faculty. Maybe for that reason I'm in an IT seminar. I'm not often been in IT company seminars, so maybe this will be the future. So I'm actually establishing a new educational program concerning technology management in University of Jyväskylä that combines then IT and business. And my role, thankfully, is to teach business to IT students and not coding or things related to software development. But it's very interesting for me personally also to follow a bit that kind of more technical side of the field and then integrate those kind of things in my teaching. So originally I have been a CRM guy, so I've been teaching customer relationship management for around 15 years, and then marketing communication, consumer behavior, services marketing, and in the near future, all those kind of things are more or less then related to software side. And yeah, if you haven't been in Jyväskylä, welcome. My office is there in the Mattilaniemi campus near Hotel Alba, 1 kilometer from the centrum. So this is the world what I'm currently thinking quite a lot. So my heart originally comes from the business balloon on the left-hand side, where we have interesting issues like understanding customer experience, then thinking about how that understanding turns into business, what kind of networks we can build there, what kind of capabilities organizations and the humans should have. And now the students that I'm currently in the IT teaching represent this world. So they are very technically oriented, and I think in Finland overall that there is a big need to combine these different worlds a bit better, so that business-minded people could do something more together with technically minded people. And I see this combination very fascinating, and when we think about the IT field overall, I think all the leading IT companies have been established somewhere in the middle of this thinking. So there is a big discussion now in many Finnish universities that how can we educate future leaders for companies and people who would start to establish something new, and hopefully new IT businesses, better services, and so on. So this is kind of my key motivation. Then to warm you up a bit, I collected here one kind of opening of situation, what we know about business-to-business buying currently. And when we look at market research companies and consultancy companies, there is a lot of argumentation that business buyers are behaving, especially in the early phases of their buying decisions, quite similarly than they are as consumers. Then from scientific point of view, this is not that much confirmed. So as I actually explained before this speech to some people, in scientific world, we have separate kind of school of thoughts for business to business and then business to consumer, so own journals, and they like, what they have been publishing. And maybe that is the reason why we don't see that much in scientific literature, this overlapping of B2B buying versus B2C buying. But it's quite clear, also based on our own research, what we have done, and compared with the research I hear cite, there seems to be quite much similarities. Like one of the key things is that business-to-business buyers do the early phases of their buying journeys more and more independently. And this creates some kind of problems for B2B companies that are then trying to sell things to these buyers who do things independently. And we also know that both in consumer and business markets, it's becoming all the time more and more difficult to reach people in the early stage of the buying behavior. Be aware of what people are doing, what their needs are, has been and still is a big challenge to many companies that are trying to reach audiences in the early phase of buying. I think you have seen earlier these kind of things that more and more studies report that transactions start from online channels constantly, all the time, more and more. And like in this Accenture's study, respondents, over 1,000 B2B managers said that they want to have a similar experience in B2B setting than they have as a consumer. This is kind of my favorite slide. I show this every time I'm going to speak about consumer behavior or marketing. And this kind of captures the situation where we currently are in the understanding. And as every good scientific presentation also tells something about theory, I thought at this point I would tell you a short story about Selby Hunt. He's one of the big names in marketing science and passed away last year, very old guy. And his final article was just published where he reviewed kind of the history of marketing thought and where we currently are. And he presents a theory, actually his own theory, but it's pretty good, called relative advantage. And it's a combination of economic theories and management theories. So he picked kind of the best pieces of economics theories and management theories. And there are three key arguments in the theory, and I think it's kind of a nice way to understand buying. So number one is that demand is always heterogeneous and it varies. And then two things that are very closely related to this slide are that buyer information is always imperfect and costly. And the third one, firm information is always imperfect and costly. So if you have read economics in your studies, you probably have memory that how markets operate. And this is not kind of natural science where we are. And the more we come from economics to the business side, the more we have this imperfect information. And we very rarely, actually never are in a situation as companies or as an individual where we could make a choice based on perfect information. And that is one of my key motivations why I want to be a researcher, studying users, consumers, companies, because much of the decisions are based on wrong information, limited information. Anyway, there are a lot of uncertainties. And we researchers then try to think what we should do, what should companies do in navigating this new world where we actually are. And what I here highlight is that much of the decision making nowadays in the customer's head is undertaken inside this yellow balloon. So these are channels that are not directly marketer controlled. And kind of traditionally we have been thinking that the activities a firm does in terms of communication and marketing have been chosen so that we can reach the audiences we want. But we know that kind of the effect of this red arrow is all the time weakening. And this creates then the second question that, okay, when the effect of this is weakening, companies have started to think, what should we do here inside the customer's own decision-making balloon? And it has created the situation what we call nowadays content marketing. And a lot of digital actions have been established during the last 15 years, kind of trying to engage the customer in the different phases of buying. And we just wrote a book about it. So that's what's happening. And it has changed quite much the way what companies think about sales and marketing. And customer is often kind of stressed with the information and kind of the fact that there is too much information available to consume. And then customers more and more pick the information they want. I have a personal example. I've been a kind of early adopter of new technologies for the last 20 years. And where I'm currently, I resigned from Facebook and even from LinkedIn. So this will probably be the next step for many, that you start to think your own balloon, what you do there. And it's also, I think, an issue that concerns every one of us as an individual, not only in kind of buying decisions you do for the company or for your personally as a consumer. So this is fascinating, I think. And we come back to those issues actually somehow in almost every slide. So kind of the philosophy where this all heads, I think now we are in the heart of customer relationship management. And when we talk about customer experience, and I see that term a lot in relation to IT, what it actually means from company strategy perspective, this is what I've been teaching for 15 years. So at the heart of thinking is the understanding of the customer, and based on that, you start to think your CRM processes. How do you acquire new customers? When you have some kind of, let's say, lead base, what do you do then to turn them into good, payable, long-term customers? What kind of communication strategies you use? And then the final process, how can you keep your customers constantly satisfied and delight them? So kind of exceed their expectations. Looks very simple from this kind of strategic perspective, but reality is a bit different. And in what follows, I will talk a bit about those words highlighted in red, because people often do not behave as we want. And much of our behavior is driven by things you as a marketer cannot really affect much. We can even say that in many situations we are rather lazy, especially if it requires some kind of behavioral change. So we want to stick in the same routines we have done earlier, and these kind of things are very visible in research that studies consumer behavior. So then when talking about the more strategic levels or different models of how you should then do CRM, I think this captures quite nicely the world, what kind of frameworks, models we actually have, and they are very similar, I think, regardless of whether you use race model or IDIC model or flywheel or whatever funnel, they all share the same steps. So starting from how you acquire customers, what things do you then do when you have captured the attention of the customer, make them to behave in a certain way, and then finally, all these CRM models spend a lot of time in explaining how you should keep your customers. There is not much kind of new things happening in terms of the strategy levels, but when we go to more detailed levels, it has changed quite a lot, and especially in terms of channels. Understanding of buying actually relates to these kind of process models that were established in the 60s. And these are quite much adapted from psychology theory. And marketing science, after this, started to focus then on customer satisfaction and loyalty issues in the 70s. You might remember in the 80s, there is a new wave called services marketing. In the 90s, it turned to relationship marketing. What came then? CRM. After that, customer centricity. And now, marketing thinking is kind of full of the word engagement. So if you read scientific marketing literature, engagement is the term most papers talk about. So this was the starting point, and we have seen recently that many changes actually have happened in external factors. Finns remember that during COVID time, we ran out of toilet paper, and so when something is discussed a lot in, let's say, media, it often makes us behave in a certain way. And you Finns know that we now have this retailing strike for 2 days, and just yesterday evening visited one store in Jyväskylä, and all the shelves were pretty much empty. So it has been another good example that kind of external factors make us to buy food. And that is often the case. And then all these models also somehow try to understand what happens after the purchase. And I see it a lot that firms measure NPS and how willing you are to recommend our company products to others. And the fact actually is that the other side is probably more important. Like there's one study I hear side that stated that 40% of B2B buyers have cognitive dissonance after buying. So uncertainty, in other words. So almost half think after buying that, was this a good thing to do to buy this? But it has been there for, let's say, 70 years. Often problems actually start in buying right at the beginning. So when we are selling something, we don't understand the customer need well enough. And according to this Harvard Business Review study, it's one of my favorite studies. It surveys a bit over 100 executives in 17 different countries. So quite nice story. And it's close to 90% of the respondents that said that this problem increases a lot costs later on. And I think we cannot emphasize enough that you really do not often understand what problem the customer has. And it's kind of a two-sided thing. The customer might tell you something, but often it might be that the customer actually does not really know what his or her problem actually is. So yeah, again, this field is very fascinating. One of my other favorite study is what I use a lot is another Harvard Business Review study dealing with things that slow business-to-business buyers in the buying journey. And for different audiences, I have talked about this. I see a lot of agreement that if you think your customers, I think quite many of them actually experience information search problems at the early stage. If you just visit any website, you personally have this feeling that I cannot find the information I'm looking for from this website. And then in addition, all the social media channels, if you are looking for something from there, it's full of stuff. And it's very hard nowadays to navigate in the right channels, looking at the right content. We are often guided then by other people who share things on social media channels or wherever, send links via email, and that guides our process when we search for information. Interestingly, when the buying journey continues, people come into the picture, and people mean problems. So negotiations and those kind of things create problem because it might be kind of, maybe a simple example is that Finns know Gigantti. If you walk to Gigantti and you have chosen at home a TV you want to buy, and then you walk there and you say that this was this TV I checked online today in a very good price. Then the salesperson says to you, no, it's an old model. Do not buy it. I have here a bit better one, and it costs twice the same. So that is kind of the problem when people jump into the process when the individual already has decided that I want to do this kind of purchase. And then I think many sales people suffer from this problem that they do not guide kind of in a simple way the process into a goal. So they start to present too many different variations of the service or product at the end. And we all know as individuals that the more options you have, the more difficult it often then is to make the final change or the choice. So this is other very important fact that we have to understand human behavior a bit and how our brains work and how much information we can handle at the same time. NASA did a study, I often cite, that we can only handle 4 digital pictures at the same time. So that is kind of the capacity of our memory. And now when I talk 30 minutes to you, you probably remember 1 sentence tomorrow. And if you are under 3 years old, you actually will not remember anything. So if you have small kids, do not worry if you say something bad to them. So much of our choices we do daily. Some say that we do 10,000 choices every day. 10,000 is quite much. Like where you sit now is a choice you just did. And I think most of you made the choice, especially you, because you are probably from the same company. It's nice to be around people you know. It's not that nice to go to a table where you meet people you have never met before. It's routines, habits, behavior. We are used to this. Of course, there are exceptions. Maybe some of you is a person who always goes to these kind of seminars and wants to sit in a table where are people you have earlier not met. Maybe a salesperson. But yeah, we are guided by laziness routines in many of our choices, and it's not a big surprise because we, in our culture, are educated for this. If you have kids and first time when you brought your kids to kindergarten, what happened? I still remember they taught you routines. You parent, when you come here, you have to stay there and do this, and then the kid is being taught routines, what they do there. Our school system does it. We do it at the university. You do it at work. And we, in a way, like it. It's a safe environment when we know what is going to happen next. Our brains love kind of things they have memories about. The final part of my presentation is kind of updates on our very, very recent studies. I have longitudinal data actually concerning Finnish consumers, and it's quite interesting stuff. Just last week, I presented our newest survey in a retailing seminar, so this is very, very fresh stuff. And we see some changes in behavior before, during, after COVID. It's pretty much in line with other studies. So if you have read, let's say, studies concerning online buying, you know this stuff. So I'm not repeating those kind of things, but picking up some of the most interesting from my personal perspective to this seminar, what should we probably talk a bit about? So we have 5 years measured Finnish consumers' values. So what are important things for Finnish consumers? Why it is important to know values? Values are quite good indicators of our behavior because values do not change. Okay, sometimes, but not much. And I actually confirmed this with this data set. So in 5 years, Finnish values or Finns values have changed very, very minimally. So if you don't know what kind of people Finns are, now you know. They value their own health and their close people's health and safety. We want to, especially the older you are, the more you value these health and safety. And then Finns do not seek that much respect from others or excitement. Actually, the only value where we see that men stress more importance is excitement. And women stress more importance to health and safety. But we also see that age plays here quite a big role. So the older you are, there is a big correlation to this pyramid, so that older people stress these more important, whereas younger people stress those things more important. In our newest survey, we also found that Finns are quite worried. Around half is worried about the financial situation of their household and their personal, and it reflects then to kind of intention how much money they are going to spend, and especially students and low-income people have this stress. Then we have studied quite a lot of channels, especially in terms of retailing channels. So this is 5-year data, and the newest one is the white graph. And we see that people still like going to brick and mortar stores, so physical stores. Then we have asked now for a couple of years about online grocery shopping, and we don't see that much changed anymore. So COVID actually increased intention to buy groceries online, and people also reported more awareness of it. But now it's not changing anymore, and huge majority wants to shop groceries still from brick and mortar stores. For this audience today, I think this might be interesting. So looking at the information search channels Finnish consumers use while they are thinking to acquire something, what we see here, so the newest one is the white one here. Overall, information search has actually reduced a bit. And this is in line with other international studies that say that especially during COVID time, people searched much more information than they normally did online. What we also see is that digital channels play a huge role in information search. And then some newer channels like Amazon or searching from social media channels, they are not among the adult population. So our data is 18 to 79 years of age, are not popular. But when we look at different age groups, this is polarization, a buzzword we use a lot in many cases nowadays. And there is a big polarization now between age groups in terms of how they acquire information. And when looking at the youngest age group, we have studied roughly 1/3 search information from social media influencers. Guess how many of 50+ age group does it? Yeah, pretty close, 2%. And in addition, we have asked recently other questions concerning what influence social media has on different things. And we see the same polarization between age groups when asking about social influencers more and how much different age groups follow them. Result is quite similar than in the previous one. And this is quite interesting stuff overall when you think about especially kids. And I'm quite at the end, do not worry. Another food for thought is I often talk nowadays about the dark side of digital content. And there is a lot of research now coming from psychology. I'm actually doing a meta-analysis with my colleague of all the dark side social media effects and that's why I don't use social media anymore. I know the bad things too much. And you see a lot of this stuff that, if you have kids, you see that they all they want to do is watch their mobile phones and YouTube and follow social media influencers, and then they are telling, like to me, that Dad, next time when you go to shop, buy this ice cream. And then I asked, why the hell? Because one YouTuber said that it's the best. And he had tasted all the ice creams of one shop. So we see this kind of behavioral pattern a lot, but as said, research is growing a lot on the dark side, and it of course affects companies as well. So how do you react to this as companies? And we often say that, social media impacts more on kids, but I think we all see impacts on our personal life as well. I sometimes watch YouTube and picked up this for the Swedish audience who is online. You probably know who this is. He's a cross-country skier, and I was actually watching one of his training videos and thought to buy this kind of cross trainer. But then my wife said that no way. So I didn't buy it, but I actually bought the bike ERC. And buying decision actually was originally influenced by some YouTube training videos. So it's there to stay, and a lot of influences come to our behavior from many, many different places. In our preparation session in Teams, I remember someone recommended me to make a recipe for success. So here it is. So based on my speech today, it's hard to say anything concrete, but thank God I'm an academic. So academics can draw big picture. I think we still have the same strategy we have had for tens of years, that how to be better, how to navigate better in this world. It's still quite much about understanding what your customers do, how they behave, analyzing the operating environment, and then build your strategy based on this understanding. And it's actually quite surprising that we still teach consumer behavior and business behavior with well-established frameworks, and some of them are like 50 years old. So digital has not actually created that much new in terms of theories. I would say that it's more like a context, and still kind of the basics of doing things seem to remain the same. But now, when the world is moving so fast, and thinking about every day we get news about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence and how good they are or how bad they are, we really do not know where we are in 20 years. Again, keeps me as a researcher very motivated. If you are interested in this topic more, I collected here some of the readings we use in our teaching and best books on the market, I would say, especially on digital marketing field. Thank you, 30 seconds left.
Thank you, Heikki. What a time. I have a couple of questions here online, and of course, if you have something, please raise your hands. The first one was, do we have Nordic numbers on B2B buying, meaning the second slide of your presentation? Nordic figures about B2B buying.
No, and of course those were not representative because they are based on convenience samples, like Accenture and all those studies.
And what about different industries? No.
Yep. But what I see, I think we are very similar in terms of those issues than we can read from US samples, UK samples.
And we are a couple of years behind those all the time almost. Isn't that so? Maybe.
I wouldn't say so. It of course depends on what you are looking for.
Yeah.
But like answering sales calls, if that study says 90% will not do it, maybe we could get another option among Finns.
Yep.
because probably here it is lower.
It is a little bit lower. And then, is there a difference between buying decisions between B2C and B2B? People are making buying decisions in both, but is there more facts and less feelings in B2B buying compared to B2C? So are we more rational in B2B than in B2C? Are we human beings in both worlds or not?
That's kind of a classic way to separate B2B and B2C buying. So usually the first thing, if you read a scientific paper about it, states that B2B buying is more rational. But then you can debate that there are so many different types of buying decisions. Of course, we as consumers also want to do rational decisions. But it's often hard because we have this imperfect information problem. And when you don't know enough, you trust in your feelings. Like choosing your spouse.
Yep.
You have 3 options. You cannot, decide without the feeling.
That's true.
And often in business, you have this similar issue.
Yep. So we are human beings like 24/7.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the answer.
I've got a quick
David.
question. Very interesting presentation, by the way. When it comes to imperfect information and surfing the internet and finding it, how do you think things like ChatGPT might help or not? Do you have an opinion?
I think all our search engines will pretty soon be like that. So it will be the future. And I think it's a good thing that it, in a way, guides us a bit more than the Google search, what we have today. But as said, it's very complex situation, and there are many different sides on the topic. And when you think kind of a world that you ask everything from Google, okay, you have a flu, you Google what to do. And you then start to follow always what that recommends. Is that what we want? so it's not a simple issue, but very good comment.
Yep. Thank you. There's one.
Just a quick one on regards to AI, and kind of because there's a lot of discussion that lawyers will be obsolete because there will be 2 AI robots who are competing of who has the right angle towards legislation. But what about B2B buying? Then you have 2 chatbots discussing that, okay, this is the pain point. Do you see that would happen at some point?
Yeah, there is a lot of discussion about kind of replacing jobs with technology, and I'm already waiting the day when a robot replaces me. So this is a philosophical question also, that we still have, I hope, some added value that I was here than compared to what could be the other option. There would be a robot talking.
Yep.
Maybe it would be better. But yeah, that's a good point, and I think it concerns not only lawyers, but almost every profession we can think. And we are, like in the school world, thinking this a lot. So what is the value added that we still have teachers? A very good point.
Thank you, Heikki. Tim, please.
Okay. How does this work? Which is, oh yeah, the big one. Okay, great. Hyvää päivää. On mahtavaa olla tällä kanssani. That was... My name is Tim. I'm from Liferay, coming from Germany, and I'm really excited to be here. I will speak about how to become a digital champion. That's how you basically outrun your competitors with a better digital experience. And I will start with a very brief introduction. Then you will need your phones, and I will need mine too, and that's actually here in the code. So please have your phones ready. I hope, yeah, it still is. So that's a session where you're allowed to use your phone actively. And I will then have a bit of a, providing theoretical background and an example of a customer that went through the digital journey to become a digital champion step by step. So Liferay, most of you will have heard of IBM. It's unlikely any of you has heard of Liferay before. So we turned 19 years. We're 19 years old this year. We're a company in the digital experience business, so we're a software vendor. And our software, I will explain on the next slide, is a tool to build what your customers or your partners or vendors or employees enter, like the digital touch point for all the roles I mentioned. And we're roughly 1,200 employees serving 1,300 customers at the moment. And despite not being that huge brand, we've been a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for our business for 11 years in a row because we really focus on B2B and pretty much on B2B only. There's complexity in B2B, and that's different to other businesses like B2C. And there we're really different to other competitors. So some of the companies you might have actually know, Nordea, a bank, I believe, here in Finland, and then Matos, a manufacturer of professional kitchens, also from Finland, that we recently successfully won with Solteq. And I will later be speaking about Putzmeister, and you will see what that is. So Liferay, that's one point that Heikki mentioned. The digital journey starts when users gather information. They're being attracted on the website. You want to engage them. You want to come to a conversation and then have the ability to convert them. So that's where the user journey starts. And then the goal is to keep them in that cycle for as long as possible and retain your business, grow business with additional contracts. And along this journey, you will need different tools like a website, simple website, something to communicate with the user. You then will need a couple tools to convert the customers or checkout process. I think you will all get the slides later, but yeah, feel free to take pictures, that's fine. So then for every step you will need tools, and I try to basically summarize what these tools might be, and that can be difficult to manage all these different tools, and especially for a customer, it can be very frustrating when this is happening with 3 different logins and 3 different CIs. So they all look differently. The information are redundant in best. In worst case, they are saying different things. So with Liferay, you build all that. That is what the product does for you that we provide. I think, oh yes, no session without ChatGPT. I asked what is Liferay or why should I buy Liferay? So the red lines are not very good to see, but I'll say it's for scalability, customizability, integration, and strong community. So things that will help you build your custom digital platform today, your digital front end today for your customers, but that is still flexible in future. I also asked ChatGPT why my favorite soccer club is the greatest in the world. It said it's not. So not everything can be right there, so obviously. Yes, so now it's time to get your smartphones. And please switch to the different. Yes, exactly. So my phone disconnected. Hopefully that still works. You should all be able to access this. I think my phone disconnected. If you move the mouse, you can please click here. And yes, start the poll. So the first question is really only for practice. What's your favorite sport to watch, like on TV? I think I have a good guess. Yeah, no choice. It's not a serious survey as the ones that Heikki does, so. Okay, so we have 28 answers. Everyone from home, or if you're on your cross trainer following us, you can also participate still with a QR code. Very good. So yeah, I guess it would be ice hockey. I learned that this is something really big in Finland. Now, can you please go to the next one? There was a button. That one? Yeah, thank you. So when you think about digital experience or digital services that you use often, privately and in business, what do you value most about using those when using those services? I gave some examples, knowing this might, by some degree, influence the results. Try to find only one word, not like a sentence or 2 or 3 words. So when you think about whatever digital portal or website you use for shopping, for I don't know, I heard the health service digitization in Finland is really great, compared to Germany, definitely. All right, you're really good. And you can enter multiple words if you like to. Okay, so we see convenience is big and getting even bigger. Usability and easiness of using it, I think that relates. Yes, it needs to be secure or trusted. It needs to be reliable. Thank you. Remember that a bit. We'll see convenience, very big, usability, easiness of use. I think I spotted speed or something with speed somewhere. Fastness here. And now please the third and last question. This will not be used for marketing messaging to you. Now when you think about your company's digital products that you offer to customers, how you approach them, how vendors or partners can work with you, how do you rate that from 1 to 10? 1, there is none, to 10, it's really, really excellent. I see you're confident with the 7. I did that with in an online webinar in Germany. We were more here in the area of 4 to 5. I'm not sure if that is because our digital services are so bad or if we are so critical about ourselves. And that is not because I want to compare it with something else. That question was because I wanted you to start thinking about what does make a great customer service or a great digital experience. So you started thinking, well, how do my customers interact with us? What can they do? Where do they have to enter the same information again and again and again? And things like that. So very good, thank you. That were the 3 questions. Basically to start, to have you start thinking about what you offer today. So if we can go back to the presentation, please. Yeah. All right, so that was the result from PricewaterhouseCoopers survey. And here as well, we can see, it's very small, but I'll read it out. Convenience, trust me, it says convenience. It also says efficiency. I think that was rather big on our screen as well. Friendly service, I remember something like that. There's easy payment. Well, that's if you want to spend money, that's a good idea to have an easy payment service. So I think we can pretty much relate to it. Efficiency is, I think that relates to fastness or speed or being able to use something really quickly. But these were the major results in this survey, efficiency and convenience. And what happens if we do not provide them? 77% of all B2B customers find the process too complicated and time-consuming, so not convenient and not fast in using it. Almost everyone said they do not go through a straightforward customer journey, but have to repeat things because they have to log in twice and provide the information again and find information that contradicts with whatever I found earlier. So that's not a good sign if we want to provide something that is really easy to use and convenient. And then lastly, more than half of the customers tend to not use a company's offering again after such a bad experience. Is it worth, though, investing money in digital experience, in digital services? Okay, I'll speed up. It is definitely worth, because you will see with the degree of transformation, your revenue grows, but there can be places where you're kind of stuck. And that can happen when you provide siloed information, siloed access to things, and then have to do it again. And information is not integrated with each other. General message, it's worth investing in digital transformation of your business and your customer experience, but make sure you don't get stuck with siloed information. At Liferay, we make sure when building a solution that we have in mind that there's many other stakeholders than we're thinking of in the first place. It's not only customers. My support employees are stakeholders on the digital platform. That my partners might be stakeholders in future. Vendors can be integrated. So there's many different roles in that, and that makes B2B particularly complicated. And the example of Putzmeister I want to share with you because they went through various steps of digitizing their digital touchpoints, but it started with something very internal. Like in the old days, we would say it's an intranet. It really was the digital touchpoint for their service employees, for customer support internally. But they already knew there's going to be more stakeholders in this play. Putzmeister is from the Stuttgart area in Germany, a company for primarily mobile concrete pumps. Some also are used in mines to pump things up or pump things down, whatever needs to be done. And they started using Liferay, if I remember correctly, in 2016. Maybe the slide says it doesn't. Well, they started with something back then was called intranet, information for support employees, emails. It was all scattered. It was a scattered solution back then, and they moved that to a new global intranet on Liferay for all their subsidiaries, for all their business units, and included team sites for it, included local intranets that could be managed in the specific countries with dedicated content, but also managed centrally from the headquarters. Because they knew there would be more stakeholders in future, they were able to then expand the solution to build a customer portal. And again, there were many different things. They started building digital services with siloed solutions, unfortunately. So they had that IoT platform, a spare parts web shop on SAP Commerce, I believe. Merchandise, I saw it. You can buy these trucks like that big, but they cost 200 euros. It's, I thought it would be something for my son, but it really isn't. A dealer portal, not only customers and internal stakeholders had to be integrated, they also wanted to work with dealers, so provide information to dealers, have dealers register products, find spare parts faster, and they wanted to beat their competition by providing a convenient digital touchpoint for their partners to buy, because there's always a third-party provider that has some spare part cheaper, and they did not want to go into that fight for cheap spare parts, but win it with a convenient digital solution. And that's why they built the customer portal for Putzmeister and for their parenting company, Sani, on the same platform. And they could reuse everything they have done here to simply have a separate brand for Sani. And today, they were able to track where has a pump been used, because the stones in the south of Germany are sharper on the edges than in the north, because the sand and stone there mostly come from the sea. So when a truck is being used further south more often, they need to come into maintenance earlier. So today they can provide 1 minute. Yeah, they can provide a predictive maintenance service at additional cost. So they get to charge the customer for a digital service that adds to the product revenue. So not only a service adding to using the product, but actually generating revenue and profit. And lastly, again, on the same platform, managing it centrally and distributing it to all brands, to all countries. They built the website. So you can go to putzmeister.de or .com, it should both work, and see what they built on Liferay, managing it centrally, but allowing local subsidiaries to manage their, for example, the content in their language themselves. And this is the way Putzmeister accomplished this road to become what we call a digital champion. And yeah, I'm glad we still have them. They are a very satisfied customer using Liferay for all these kind of use cases. And if you want to find further information, you can speak to me or later access this content. I provided a white paper and an ebook on similar topics. And yeah, I'll be here for today. I think that was the last slide. haven't learned how to pronounce it. What is it, Anssi?
Paljon kiitoksia.
Does it make sense? It was translated by Google.
No, it's saying that you are not welcomed here. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah. Sorry. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tim.
Let's go back. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. And it's great to be here, actually. It's good to see so many faces, and we're in this hybrid working of having people physically in a room as much as we would have online as well. So just as a quick introduction, my name is Mike Kiersey. I head up our sales engineering within Boomi. But really what I want to talk about is all about how we help the retail business, right? If that's through more of B2B, B2C. But actually, one of the things we've talked some really interesting things around behaviors and experiences. But all of that is predicated on data, right? And where does that data actually come from? How is it derived? How do we use that in the world of information? And is the customer always right? Actually, no, not always, right? But it's based on the information that we provide to them that allow them to make their choices and informed decisions as to what Tim talked about in terms of capturing and converting those capabilities. So for me, it's all about a couple of things. It's all about experience. And being able to build that experience that has been used outside that allows our customers and partners and suppliers to interface into us. But actually behind that, we need to build a more connected experience and the confluence of information. You know, my analogy would be as we walk along and we see a duck on a pond. And you think how graceful, right, that it's on the water. But it's probably paddling like mad beneath as it sort of powers its way through the water. And I think industry is actually quite like that. We have engaging experiences, but not necessarily we're well connected because the information that we surface up or the data that we surface up is not of that quality. But actually, when we look at some of the things we see from an industry perspective, talked about it today, omnichannel experience. You know, I would like to have the same experience regardless of how I interface into an organization. Supply chain and resiliency. Right, how do I get that information? Only COVID showed some of that happening. What happened in the Suez Canal when a huge ship gets stuck, right? The impact and the economics, not just for individuals, but more broadly around the industries itself. Customer loyalty. How many of you go on as a personal look at B2B, B2C? Look at something, it's not available, literally 3 seconds later, go and have a look at another site. Right, so having that loyalty that's built in. Sustainability, that's probably the biggest part I'm seeing across the industry is actually how sustainable are we? You know, one particular provider is actually you ship me goods. I unpackage it, it's in cardboard, but you wrap every electronic device in plastic. Why do you do that? And if you don't stop doing it, I will refuse to work with you. Right, you can start to see customers now are asking for the demand to be more sustainable. Actually, inventory. Everyone have a good handle on their inventory. Is it in the right place? Is it in the right location? Can I get it delivered in time? Right? All of the pressures that are coming from an industry perspective. Well, does that look the same internally? You know, we talk about the changes of an organization we have different operating models. Traditional business, as much as being digital and having different channels, offers different streams. Different revenue streams. How do I actually build more money? Is it a lower footprint if I want to enter into a particular market? Or actually I want to enter into a different geography? Requires a different thought. Actually, if I want to do that, do I build products or do I buy an organization that already has that? And the complexity that that will bring. How do I harmonize two digital channels and omnichannel experiences into one? And all of the inventory and all the data that comes as part of it. And how do I start to build customer-centric view? I worked with a customer 15 years ago in retail, and the question they asked is, how do we target and market someone when no one else knows the problem or the challenge or the opportunity they have? So this was an organization, they wanted to target and market ladies who were pregnant. So what they found is that all the data that they have, a lady would find out, thought she was pregnant, she might do a clear blue test. And what would happen, she was pregnant, we start buying things, right? And it might be white little clothings or goods to do with childcare. And then what we found after a certain amount of time of buying, actually that person was pregnant, and we could start targeting. But at that point, they've probably not told them or anyone else in the family or their friends that they are pregnant until they've actually got their scans done, right? So it was a way of actually using information to be able to target that as an example. Timely access to data, important, right? How do we get that? Is it batch process? Is it running at night? Actually, is the information I'm getting actually reliable and relevant to the time I have? Regulations. GDPR is the biggest impact that we've had. Shrimps as well, right? It's come standard contractual clauses that are being introduced. All of these, how do I make sure that those are available, that someone signs up to my service, actually engage properly and appropriately? Actually, do I get a return on investment? What is the total cost of ownership of delivering a digital experience, right, as I invest and drive through that? And most important one as well, security. Actually, how do I lock that data? How do I know it's secure? Where is it? And actually, how do I put all of the security needs that's appropriate for that data? And all of these have different actors, right, who is important, and certainly that from the CEO perspective, as I forge and drive my business to greater levels of profitability and growth. So let me take you on a journey. I like storytelling more than anything else. You know, when we look at it, what does the customer want? I do like a personalized experience, both as me as a consumer of a B2B, and I interact with other organizations as much as a B2C. I want that omnichannel experience, regardless if I'm, you know, physically talking to an individual, am I getting the same feel, trust as part of it, or as I'm looking on a particular screen? Actually, is all the information I have, is it relevant? Is it timely? Is it easy to navigate? And we talked about that in the poll that Tim had. But most importantly, for most organizations, it needs to be secure, right? I want that. But it's all predicated on data. And in a simple term, we have a lot of data that's out there, right? We have product data. We have order data. We have sales data. We have inventory data. How many of you have got all of that data? Right? Do you have a good view of that data? So when we look at all of that and you bring it all together, right, actually we're using all of that to arm our customers and ourselves that actually we can target the right profile, right, or the right organization who wants to come and consume our service. And it's important to understand that as part of the broader picture is actually how can we laser focus in as part of it. However, the journey is not easy for digital, and Tim's sort of slide of growth and profitability is there. Or actually, which path would you like to take? The green line or the orange line? The green line, it is a bit bumpy, right? You're never going to go from A to B in a straight line, because also, you know, you're going to have bumps and speeds, bumps, I should say, as part of that transformational journey. But A to B on the bottom line, it's very convoluted. It takes a long time. And why? It's actually complex. Most of your organizations are big. It's built from many, many cogs, like an engine, right? And it requires a huge understanding of the organization, not just from a technology, but people, process. You know, I would say most organizations are very structured. Actually, a lot of the information they might have is very tribal, right? And bringing all of that together, you know, creates an organization of complexity. Technology debt. This is a picture of a Roman road, right, in the UK. And your layers, and if you imagine roads today, they're made up of layers, right? When we start out on some of these things, we select technology that delivers us a point solution as much as where we think we're going to consume it. When that fails to deliver, we add something else on. And then we add something else on. And then another department comes along and goes, really cool, but I'd like to use this, but I want the data. And before you know it, you have the concept of the Roman road, which is layers upon layers of complexity that comes as part of that. Data. How many of you in the room, hands up, have all your data in one place that's easy accessible? Yeah? 3 people. Ooh. So the silos of data is all over the place, right? It could be in the cloud, it could be on premise, it could be on someone's laptop, it could be in a content management solution, it could be on a Google Drive, it could be anywhere, right? It's actually having that brings the complexity around data. So our approach is, how do we help change this? How do we make it simpler for organizations to build that experience that's required around data? we definitely need an integration layer, right? Average organization probably has about 110 applications to run their business, right? And even if they feed that with different sources, you're probably looking anything between 200 to 300. I've worked in organizations alongside anything between 1,500 and 2,000 applications to run their business, which is a huge amount of complexity. It needs to be secure, of course. Everyone naturally thinks that it is. Actually, there's a lot of things that are out there, believe it or not, in my world of consulting I've done. Actually, some of it's quite open, right? Information being sent in clear text, right, around a customer, not encrypted. API management, we've all talked about the whole digital experience, and most of that is fueled on the ability to connect by using APIs to connect into that data with ease and speed. Data management. Do we have the governance? Do we have the conformity? Do we have the rules around the policies, around the data that we have? We also need a service layer. One that I did miss off is we actually need a user experience layer as part of it to bring and orchestrate all of that interactivity. However, any of you remember these? Any of you still got them at home? Yeah, me too, right? Sits in the box in the garage, just in case. There's a lot of legacy. Going back to that thing around the Roman road, if we look at some organizations, and if they've been founded, both born in the cloud and those pre to that, actually we have still a lot of on-premise legacy applications, everything back to the mainframe. How do I connect to that? How do I bring that sort of data, surface it up as it runs maybe our ERP platform or our CRM, right? How do I bring that up and make it easier and simplification of it? Complex. B2B is complex. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of interactivity. There's a lot of data points that will come from CRM platforms to our inventory platform, our shipping, our logistics, our returns, customer service. All of that needs to be provided in a harmonized way. Now, the data, I talked about it before, lots of it is buried in the rules and the capabilities as part of it that allows you to deliver that seamless experience regardless of where some of that data is. It's being able to tap into it quickly and efficiently. I think we brought up the conversation around ChatGPT, brings a new dynamic again to it, right? Put my information in it, but a lot of the machine learning platforms is all predicated on high quality information, right? That it will start to build upon. Experiences. How do we move from that sort of fragmented capability and experiences that we can start to deliver that make it easier that actually I only have one piece of chalk that I look at and I feel like deliver through that. So let's make it simple. The organization of Boomi is we help us hyper-automately discover and catalog the information in an organization. That ability to that ability to connect and orchestrate all of those silos of data and applications with ease and speed, right? That plug and play, regardless if it's in the cloud or it's on premise. Being able to provide that hybrid model from an IT architectural perspective. We actually want to master some of that data, right? When people buy in data as part of their organization so they can actually target, actually some of that data is coming in a variety of different ways. Actually, a lot of it's duplicated, so you need to look at the trust and conformity around that data, but we want to build a better picture of an organization that we're actually dealing with. But actually, we also want to interact with them and jump in as a human at the same time, in some cases, being able to have that physical presence. And all of that needs to be delivered in a hyper-automated way. And this is why we want to build as part of it to deliver that connected experience, right? I don't think we actually ever talked about the metaverse and the future of the digital, sort of omni experience. But really what we're providing, certainly from a Boomi perspective, is helping organizations to understand through the plumbing and connectivity of applications and business processes and data that actually you can build a much rich experience for our customers. So how do we develop that? Well, really, let's touch on, first of all, is, the outcomes that we see from a business perspective is that timely insight, right? That ability to provide organizations with a path to innovation through the use of it, providing resiliency in the supply chain, right? I work with a number of different retailers in the UK, but actually being able to see near real time and where do I need to replenish? How am I going to start shipping some of that to different distribution places with efficiency and speed? And actually, is it providing us with a sustainable development of our business, right? There are certainly in parts of the EU, new laws coming out that now it's enforcing you to be a lot more sustainable and report that on an annual basis. So having that information, that data is improving. But actually to drive innovation, right? We start on that digital transformation that Tim talked about, and then how do we fuel that? How do we innovate from there on in, actually by using connected business? So we provide that through our platform, and I'm not going to go through too much in detail so we're close on time, but that ability through the cloud of being able to connect organizations, regardless of their different applications, their services that they offer, through the innovative use of being connected data. And if those platforms allow it through completeness that allows and ensures that organizations can offer everything from understanding where the data is, how we connect that through the plumbing, but actually have that experience that we can deliver through that omnichannel perspective. Questions? Thank you.
Put the clicker. Yeah. One back. All right. Hello, everyone. Hope there's still energy in the room for a few more. So my name is Kenneth Lindstedt. I work at Akeneo. I live in Finland. I work for the Nordic region. And I'm going to talk about product experience. What is product experience and what is product experience strategy and why that's important. So just briefly on Akeneo, if you do not know who Akeneo is, we're roughly 400 people these days. We're a global organization, headquartered in France, in Nantes. Roughly, or actually quite close to 10 years ago, our founders all worked with product information. They got together and then they started Akeneo. And yeah, we have our global partner network of around 180 partners, and we're very happy of having Solteq or working with Solteq here in the Nordics. We are also part of the MAC Alliance. If the MAC Alliance, if you're familiar with the MAC Alliance, but it's basically has to do with composable architecture. Right, and what we do is PIM, or what we're known for is PIM, Product Information Management. If you know what PIM is, what Product Information Management is, this is probably what you are thinking about. So it's known as the source of your product information. So you connect it to all the different sources where you are getting product information from, uploading files, integrating to your PLM, your ERP system, to your media servers, getting information from your suppliers, of course, creating your own information. You put it into the PIM, and that's where you create your product information, your product experiences. And then you push it out to the e-commerce platform, right? So this sounds hopefully somewhat familiar to most of you. But this is only part of it these days. So buying behavior, as we've heard quite a lot about today, buying behavior has changed, and organizations, companies should also focus on the other end of in our eyes, of what's on the PIM. So buyers in B2B, buyers in B2C, when they're looking for a product or a service, they typically do a lot of these, maybe all of these steps. So it could be something like scrolling on social media, looking for ideas, being inspired, looking for some nice lifestyle images, brand images. Someone who maybe knows what they are looking for might go still to multiple different marketplaces just to compare the options, maybe compare the data that you get on these different marketplaces or reseller sites, because product information usually varies a bit on depending on where you are looking at the product. Even someone who pretty much knows what they want to buy, they know where they want to buy it from, they would most likely still do a search on this product or service just to check and see if there has been any changes, if there has been any updates to this product or how to or where to buy this product. And this applies also to physical stores. So if you have products or services that are mainly bought from physical stores, your users will very likely still do online research on their own before they come into the store and buy that product or service. And to get some data behind this, we have our Forrester created or published a report back in 2020 about the importance of customer experience and how product experience is has the biggest impact when you look at the customer experience of a company. This specific report is you can find it on the Akeneo website, but we also conducted a study back in 2021 on buying behavior. It was aimed at B2C, but as we've heard, B2C and B2B buying behavior is not that different. So first question that we asked is where buyers get their information. So where do you get the different types of information that help you make purchase decisions? And we are looking at this from the point of an opinion first. So if I want an opinion on a specific product or a specific service, the most popular place to go is a search engine. I think we also saw this in the keynote earlier. Second option would be an online marketplace. Then we have a store salespeople, and as a fourth, social media. So from the top 4 results, 3 are digital channels. If we then look at where they go to get product information when they're looking for advice, so more advice on what sort of product or what sort of service they should buy that they need, it's still search engines that's ruling this, but store salespeople or salespeople is almost as a popular option. Then we have the other options way more down, so online marketplaces and social media. So the same top 4 order, just a bit different, depending on what you're after, opinions or advice. We went through some a bit more specific questions and scenarios as well in our survey. And the answers from these scenarios were, for example, 81%, so more than 4 out of 5, do their product research online before buying offline. All right? 72% would purchase another product due to bad product information. So this means that if I'm about to buy something, I found the product or service I want, if I'm about to buy it, but there is bad product information. That could be anything from bad pictures, bad image quality. There is missing details. There's actually an error. There's a mislink on what the image shows and what the description says. This would cause me to not buy it and go and buy something else then most likely. 74% would cease buying a brand due to bad product information. So this means that if a brand is consistently showing, having bad product information visible around, connected to their product, so they have bad images, they have only very light descriptions, they have constantly errors in their product description or something similar. If this goes on, buyers lose trust in this brand and they will stop buying from this brand altogether. More than 4 out of 5 abandoned a planned purchase because of bad product information. So this means that if I'm I've decided that I want to buy something. I've decided kind of where I want to go and buy it. So an online store in this case. If there's again missing image, it says details coming soon, something like this, that would cause me to stop again this buying and not buy anything from there. More than half have already returned a product due to bad product information. This is pretty obvious. If you order something, it says it's whatever it is, it's in color blue, and then you get something that's red, you most likely will return that. But as the Forrester report that I referred to earlier, as that also states, customer experience and product experience is very important. And there's also the other side of this. So half of all consumers are ready to pay more for good product information. So an easy example here is that you find the product, whatever it is that you're looking for. It's available on two sites. One of them has, again, only one product image. It might be still in bad quality. It only has 4 lines of description. Something that you don't trust as good enough. Then you have another site with more pictures, a lot of description, everything you need. You most likely buy the product from this site, even if the product is more expensive on this side than it's on the first site. Brand values in product information would encourage more than 1 in 2 consumers to pay a higher price for a product that includes them. So, similar story here. If you share your brand values online, you share them with your potential buyers. It could be, brand values, certificates, badges, whatever you have. If you share them with your potential buyers, they start recognizing and liking the brand more and want to buy more and are ready to pay more to buy something from you, from your brand. So we've seen that product information, like detailed product information, is important. It is important to be present wherever your potential buyers might be. And this is what we call product experience strategy then. Product experience strategy, bringing all the product records to life consistently across all owned and all unowned channels and markets to aid discoverability. So make sure people can find your products and use this to accelerate growth and stay competitive. A good example of what product experience strategy is when we talk about it is if we look at a fairly typical example of how an organization, how a company currently behaves. So let's say this specific company that I'm now going through, they are very good at social media. They're very active at social media. They have a lot of lifestyle and brand images, and everyone who's following them on social media really likes this stuff. However, they do not export, they do not use the same stuff on any other channel that they are. So only people following them, looking at the social media feed are aware of this. Everyone else visiting their website or possibly resellers and so on, they don't see this side at all. This company could have on their e-commerce site, they could have these sustainability badges or certificates and this sort of stuff visible with the products or services they sell. But if they don't make sure that this information is also shared with their marketplaces or resellers, when people go and buy the same products from the marketplace or the reseller site, they don't see this at all. They don't know that there are certificates. They don't see the environmental sustainability badges as well. And finally, if they have resellers, they share product information with only through Excel or product sheets. Most likely they will get a very small amount of all the product information this company actually has, but only the smallest amount goes to the resellers. So product experience strategy, as I said, it's not redoing everything. It's just putting together a strategy and getting a way of of sharing this data throughout all the channels that you are where you are. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Good afternoon. How's your energy level? Do you need some more coffee, tea? One of those little snacks at the back there. I've got my eyes on one of those, so don't eat them all. My name's David Hogg. I'm with IBM. I'm the Sterling supply chain sales leader for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I've been in IBM for about 17 years. I've been in the supply chain domain for about 25 years, something like that. Always been connected to providing solutions, software solutions for our clients to help them out with usually their digital front office. So I'm very pleased to be invited to come and speak here today about our experiences helping our clients advance their digital journey and connecting it with the most important bit, which is the supply chain. So we've heard a lot about the experience of digital, getting in front of consumers, getting in front of B2B buyers, making sure they get the right information at the right time so they can make a decision. But once they've made the decision and place an order, then we've got to follow up and meet the promise. So my talk is all about ensuring that we have the perfect order, we have a happy customer, and we always keep the promise. That's what it's all about in a nutshell. So on this slide at the front here, and you'll get the copies no doubt later, there's a little link here to something we did recently within IBM. It's the Chief Supply Chain Officer Survey. We conducted a study last November, about 2,500 chief supply chain officers around the world, and we just use that as a pointer towards, are we using our technology in the right way? Are we advancing our research and development in the right way? Are we satisfying our customer needs? So some of those data points I'll surface here in the next coming slides so you can see what we're talking about. So I'll talk about the market trends in supply chain. Hopefully you'll relate to them. If you're a shopper, I think everybody is a shopper, one way or another. You'll probably relate to some of those trends that we see, particularly around the consumer experience. I'll talk to you about some customer cases. So some organizations we work with who've actually advanced down this journey and done some pretty good stuff, and hopefully give you some inspiration of what's possible, maybe the art of the possible. And then I'll talk to you about what we offer in this space around order management and the value of it. So it's not just about achieving things like the perfect order, but what's the value related to that and how we articulate that and how we help our clients advance their business case in each scenario. So I'll focus on three things on market trends. Customer behavior. I think you've heard a lot about this already. I'll just give you a couple of sound bites in that area in a second or two. Supply chain risk, and then sustainability. I think we've heard from our speakers already, a lot of what I'm saying here is consistent. So it is more evidence to back that up, I would say. And also just to say how it's driving our investment in our technology. So consumer behavior, my goodness, the last 3 years or so, there's been up and down and all around. Online, that's the only place you can go at certain points when we're in lockdown. This business of consumers reacting to stuff they hear about online and then buying more than they need, et cetera, et cetera. But essentially, there's a whole range of trends that we're seeing colliding at the same point in time. For me personally, when I go around Europe and speak to clients, there's a lot of industry areas that are suffering and looking to advance and become better at what they do in what we call this omnichannel arena. I would say that grocers are particularly challenged. I heard the first speaker say, well, yes, we all went online and bought our stuff, and then we're going back to the in-store experience. Correct, but there is still a persistence of the online shopping behavior being a very significant part of that sort of business. And a lot of our grocers are struggling with dealing with that omnichannel case. So we're there to help them. A lot of my business over the last year has been with grocers, actually, funnily enough. Also in the mid-market space, a lot of brands are wanting to doing a better job on serving their customers better. So these are some of the detailed points behind some of those initiatives and compelling reasons to act. I think this one here is quite significant. The business of shoppers, particularly looking at the hybrid way of shopping. They're going to their mobile phones, they're going online, they're using social media, we heard that, but they're also using the store. So having that joined up, connected experience is very, very important. So how do these organizations connect the digital experience with the physical experience of shopping, but also of fulfilling orders? So that's what we're about. Supply chain risk. Well, it's another area where it's just amplified the need to do something significantly different. A lot of the organizations I speak to, and hats off to the guy at Boomi who was talking about connecting and joining dots, we live off that, and we help surface the dashboards that are required to supply chain professionals to mitigate against supply chain risk. Supply chain risk is evident in all sorts of different ways, whether it be climate change, whether it be compliance with regulation, whether it be unexpected events like tsunamis or boats stuck in the Suez Canal, or a war on our doorstep in Eastern Europe, for example. All of these things are making sure that no 2 days are the same in the supply chain area. And we're providing tools to help those supply chain professionals get a handle upon that and then take care of either existing supply chain disruptions or impending, coming towards us supply chain interruptions. And we're using in IBM our own technology with artificial intelligence to look at the data patterns and surface up with looking at those data points, potential problems before they actually arise, and bring people together into virtual environments to solve problems before they arise. That's our challenge here. And then sustainability. Interestingly, and I was talking to some colleagues earlier, I was at the National Retail Federation event in New York in, was it 3 weeks ago now? Yeah, 3 weeks ago now. And it was interesting that our American colleagues are still very much focused on profitability. When I go to European events, we're very much focused on sustainability. That is a key watchword for driving a lot of the agenda of our customers and what they want to do as a priority. Some of it is to do with taking care of stakeholder value, so shareholders, employees, ecosystem partners. They want to do something different about the sustainability agenda. They want to surface up information with regard to their ESG principles, and they want to back it up with real evidence. So we're in the job of helping those organizations back it up with real evidence. Some of that could be to do with amplifying things like product carbon footprint, grabbing data on scope 3, which is the supply chain consumption of carbon, the emission of carbon, and bringing that forward into an organization's understanding of what their product carbon footprint overall is with the products they sell. But then there's compliance. So there's a carrot and a stick. I hope that translates into Finnish quite well. I think you get it right. So the carrot is, let's do the right thing. The stick is, if you don't do the right thing, then certain agencies, governments will step in and either complain bitterly or fine you for doing the wrong thing. And so we see it now with some of these regulations. I'm sure you have, in this part of the world, similar regulations coming into play. And I just called out a few that were just coming into the foreground recently. So Supply Chain Due Diligence Act came into force on the 1st of January 2023 in Germany. So companies over the size of 3,000 employees have to now report on their ethical standards and ensure that they're doing the right thing, with their supply community. There's no forced labor, there's no child labor, there's no mining of product from illegal mines. All of those things have to be reported upon and make it available for external auditors to go check and make sure. So we're in the business of making sure that we can grab that information, make it transparent, have it connected, and then surface it out in those domains. So all of these things, customer behavior, sustainability, and supply chain risk, these are the things that keep us awake on our research and development, making sure we do the right thing for our customers. So consequently, we've brought to market a couple of key offerings. On the left-hand side is our supply chain intelligence suite. That's more interested in inbound supply of goods. So we're thinking about, as I mentioned earlier on, product carbon footprint, track and trace, provenance, ethical trading, and also supply chain risk, taking care of interruptions in supply and taking care of those type of things. On the right-hand side is the one I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper, which is about order management, order orchestration, actually building the bridge between the digital front office, we heard a lot about that already from the previous speakers, and the physical back end. Digital, physical together is then the order management domain. We've been busy in that arena for over 20 years already, so we know a little bit about it. So I'll tell you about it now. So what does it do, this order management thing? Well, it sits between, on the left-hand side, all those channels of demand, and on the right-hand side, all those channels of supply. It used to be the case that it was easy. You would have somebody buying, somebody selling. They knew what they want. The person selling knew where to get it from, that product. Happy days, they could deliver that product. Simple, simple stuff. These days, there's so many different channels to go to market, and there's so many different options of how to supply the product. And as years go by, that challenge just gets more and more complicated, more and more complex, and more difficult to really surface up a proper world-class omni-channel experience, both in the B2C and more increasingly so in the B2B domain. And we take care of all of those things. So it's linking physical and digital together. Think of it that way. And the goal is really to have, if I just net it out, one single view of all orders from the customer and one single view of all inventory. And I dwell on that point particularly. If you don't have a single view of the inventory across all of your estate, you're not going to be able to satisfy in the most optimal fashion all of the orders coming in. So it's marrying up supply and demand in the physical world and ensuring that the promise that was originally made is then kept. So it's been a busy world for us because it taps into all sorts of different complexities. Just a little thought about some of the customers that we have and some of the value that they're seeing. I'll just walk down this slide a little bit. It's about visibility of inventory. So some of our customers have said, my goodness, now we have visibility of inventory across our entire estate. It's our distribution centers, it's our physical stores on the high street, it's our trading partners who are holding stock for us inbound, it's our partners who are co-selling with us. So we've got franchisees, we've got stores in stores, we've got other organizations, marketplaces holding our stock. Can we see all of that stuff together? Yes, we can. And when we've done that, we can do some pretty significant things like reducing the overall stock holding by a certain percentage, releasing capital from inventory that's tied up. So it's an instant win-win. If you can do that type of global inventory visibility, then you can start to get control over where the inventory is, when it should be there, and how much of it should be there. The omnichannel experience, so some of our customers have called out when they're able to switch on the connection between a digital e-marketplace, their own e-commerce, and the store, and the back-end supply chain capabilities. That whole experience, linking in with call center, linking in with a customer self-service portal, all of those things combined then can unlock even more value around selling better and fulfilling orders better. So some of those customers there call out some of those advantages, like in the multi-channel space, customers spend more because of loyalty, they like the experience. Customers that then do click and collect, buy online, pick up in store. When they're in the store, not only are they picking up the goods they just ordered, they're going to buy another couple of things. So that's uplifting the revenue potential from a shopper. That sort of thing that's going on. And at the bottom end, and it's appropriate for some of our customers, the ability to scale. So we're in the business of dealing with complexity and scale. When things go global, when things go to an extended ecosystem, that talks to scale. And we're the masters in delivering that responsiveness, ensuring that data comes through and is made available in a few milliseconds, because it needs to be there for the shopper to understand what's what and where to make decisions. So we scale for peak, and we help with that journey. So a lot of our customers in the retail space, they'll be dealing with things like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that peak before Christmas. They'll be dealing with Valentine's Day coming up, for example. So those type of things we're very well aware of and help them on that scalability. So we're recognized as the global leader in this space. We've got, I don't know, 300 and something clients, usually well-known brands. Not only retail, I'll come on to the non-retail cases shortly, but we do have that genuine coverage across the piece. And as a result of being in this arena for some time, we've built out a raft of capabilities, not just the heart of it, which is a decision-making engine to decide where to fulfill each and every order from, but also the connected pieces around things like call center, the in-store experience, configure, price, and quote capabilities, connection with dropship vendors, connection with carriers, and in fact, all the integration points that are required to get the job done. Inside of here, just for your information, there's a workflow engine which allows all of our customers to build out user journeys which are unique for each and every order type, if they want to, and also localize it to link in with local payment gateways, local tax systems, local currency, whatever, all the different warehouse management systems, all the e-commerce different systems. So we've taken care of all of those connection points. So for the retail cases, these are the usual familiar journeys that organizations would like to switch on. So business partners like ours, Solteq, have figured out what these patterns of behavior are and pre-engineered those workflows in that workflow engine I just mentioned and the integrations required to make it a really fast deployment capability. So it used to be, I can remember 10 years ago, it was a voyage of discovery each and every time. Now we've done it so many times, you can do it pretty much out of the box and do something really rapid. I've got a couple of examples coming up. In terms of a completeness, just down the road in Sweden, IKEA started this journey about 2016, 2015, and they've rolled out across the globe now. So they use the order management suite to cover off all of their omnichannel cases, and they rely upon it each and every minute of the day to satisfy all of those online orders, buy online, pick up in store, deliver to home, etc. We also have infused, I mentioned, our artificial intelligence capability, so it's getting a lot of attention from a lot of our customers. How can we make it even smarter? So we've actually done quite a bit of work around some of our technology called Watson, brought that into the technology here to even make that black box decision-making capability even smarter, bringing into real-time decision-making on things like carrier availability, the inventory that's available at that moment in time, what's the best option to take to satisfy each and every order. As consequently, that for some of our clients has yielded even more savings, squeeze those benefits on optimizing all of that. A good example will be Adidas, who have been deploying this technology in the US initially and now rolling this around Europe. And one case that they've done with real-time inventory visibility is for promoted products. So I don't know if you're Adidas advocates, but there are some people on this planet who are really keen on the latest, greatest sneaker that's just been invented by Adidas. And on social media, on TikTok or whatever, they'll be talking about it. And all of a sudden, Adidas gets bombarded with orders for this new thing that's just been released. And if they don't have real-time inventory visibility on hand, then they could overpromise, which was the case before they implemented our technology. And with our AI, make a really smart decision on how to fulfill those orders. So I like their story. If you want to talk to me about what they've done, I can help you with that. As I mentioned before, we've got the blueprint on how to do this stuff rapidly. Our friends at Solteq know how to do this very, very well. One example we did in the US recently was with Birkenstock. I like this story because it was less than 100 days. They had a burning platform in their old warehouse management and order management capability. We had to do something really rapidly. This was done remotely during COVID times in less than 100 days, and we put in 20 templated integrations to make it fast. So this can be done rapidly and unlock value really, really quickly. So we have all the technology around microservices, APIs, it's smart, it's on cloud, it can be on containers and all of that good stuff. So if there's any technical folks in the room, go speak to my friends at Solteq. They know all the details behind this, of why this is good for you. And then just to round off, not forgetting the fact that there are other organizations on the planet beyond retail. We do non-retail as well. In fact, this whole order management platform was created for the non-retail cases, particularly distribution organizations like DHL and FedEx, and also organizations that are in the industrial domain, and telco and others. So a wide variety of any organization that has a digital front office that has complexity, most of them do, we help them unlock the value and take care of the challenge. One case I'll just amplify, Caterpillar. We're dealing with what they called the gray market. So they had competitors in their space that were creating spare parts for Caterpillar product that are not genuine Caterpillar spare parts and maybe not the same quality. So Caterpillar went into it full on to take on that problem area and surfaced up online all of the spare parts that were genuine Caterpillar spares from their own stock, but also their dealer stock. So that any organization out there that's building houses or whatever and there's a broken digger, they can go online, find that spare part that's difficult to find otherwise, and make sure that it's a genuine Caterpillar spare and carry on with their business. So another great story around enabling their ability to promise the customer well. Finally, I just keep coming back to value and outcomes. So we help, some of our customers say to me, well, what should we do first? And how can you articulate what the value is of doing that thing first, second, third? We have something called a business value assessment. It's something we've done multiple times. We have a framework that describes what we study, how we look at it. We benchmark it against organizations and industries in the same space and actually bring the customer data into this framework and just evaluate what would the splash effect be of this technology deployed in a certain sequence to then unlock the value for that organization, help build their business case, basically. So we're happy to do that, again, with our business partners. There you go. That was my presentation. Hopefully that kept you awake. Thank you.
There's one question for you. How do you see the blockchain's role in the future supply chain management?
I'm glad you asked about blockchain.
This was like paid one. This actually is here.
No worries. So back in my earlier slide, I had those two main offerings. Supply Chain Intelligence Suite, it has blockchain inside. So for example, we have a business partner in Norway, which is Akeneo, technology organization, who work with the Norwegian Seafood Association, and they're using it to track and trace the journey of salmon from either open sea caught salmon or farmed salmon in the fjords to demonstrate the provenance of that product and then record that information in the database, which is blockchain enabled. It's a blockchain platform. And what that is a shared data set across all the different ecosystem organizations on that journey of that salmon from the farm to your plate. And so you can tell where that salmon came from. So we use blockchain in that context.
Thank you. Any other questions? So once again, a big hand to all our superstars. Thank you, Heikki. Thank you, David. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Mike. And I don't see, what's that all like? Sorry. First of all, it has been a really joyride. I mean, in the business, thinking about, okay, that's something that we need to focus on the future and so on. But hopefully it was a joyride for you also. Having the ideas, having the thoughts, having the whatever opinions or whatever. Please contact us if you have something to ask, if you have something in your mind. I mean, we have been doing this 40 years for zero. That's a huge ride for us. Thinking about having thousands of projects, so with the almost 330 experts, I'm pretty sure that you don't have the problem or the issue that we haven't yet met and solved. So please contact us, whatever is in your mind. Doesn't matter. We will fix it. We will solve it. We will be your experts in digital business. Thanks for this time. We are continuing here on site. The tap is open, so please have a glass of wine or beer, especially our sales reps, please have one. And let's have a nice weekend starting for tomorrow. Thanks. And team, sorry, I forgot you to say special thanks.
Now I got my inspiration.
Yep. Okay, thank you everybody. Thanks.